Hello, our dear viewers. Welcome to this week's episode of the Inter-University Debates, where we bring together a lot of our generational leadership talents to discuss pertinent issues on the country, in the country Uganda, as we, of course, work together on this journey of national development. Today in issue, of course, as you might guess, goes back to the Kawempe North by-elections, and it is in the Inquisitorial. Is the Kawempe by-elections a precursor to the 2026 elections? Shortly before the show started, I was having a discussion with one of the panelists, and he was saying, why was there too much energy for a term that is just going to be a few months? I guess we'll find out the answer in the course of this discussion. Colleagues and dear viewers, I believe, like us, you followed this trail from the time of the passing in January of Honorable Segirinya Muhammad, followed by the very contentious by-election, and of course, the turnout last week that brought forth, of course, Honorable Nalukola Luimbazi as the winner with 17,764 votes, followed by Nalukola, of course, coming from the National Unity Platform, and in second position was Nambi Chigongo with 8,593 votes from the National Resistance Movement, leading the polls. Of course, there were other candidates, including Milton Obote's son, who got 22 votes, and Aganaga Khalifa, who after a very big show managed to amass 280 votes. But for today's show, I think we shall focus on the winner and the runner-up, because I think the narrative, but also the confrontation and results were between those two. To discuss the issue in the matter in issue today, Kawempe by-elections, and also how it leads to the 2026 general elections. With me is a very capable panel, starting from the far right. We have Mr. Kawere Mugwanya Thomas from Kyambogo University. You're most welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes, Mr. Kawere also happens to be the former Minister of Finance at Kyambogo University. Yeah. Next to him, of course, our comrade Aruho Brian, a law student at Cavendish University, who also happened to be the 15th Guild President. We are much honored to have you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And finally, comrade Kirabo Diana from Cavendish University, also a lawyer. It's good to have you with us today. She is the former Secretary General, Electoral Commission at Cavendish University. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much.
And indeed, your position is very, very pertinent for the discussion today. Yeah, diving straight into the discussion. First, colleagues, I want to get your general take on how, maybe in a minute or two, your take from the by-election that ended, of course, with victory for Honorable and Council Nalukola. I'll start with you, Madam Commissioner.
Thank you, moderator.
Yes.
For me, there was nothing surprising, because for the last 25 years, the ruling party has not won Kawempe as part of Kampala. So unless it took really extra preparation, I did not expect anything strange. So
You're not surprised that NRM
I was
lost?
surprised that NRM lost. And I was also not surprised that it was NU that won the election.
Okay, thank you very much. We shall get back to the regional dynamics together with party later in the show. Comrade Aruho, your take?
My take is more or less the same as the commissioner. I think Kawempe generally has been a center play for opposition. When you look at NUP now, you need to remember that there was DP then. So to me, NRM, I think it's good that it participated as any other political party, but then it's also good that at the end of the day, all the fracas that happened, that NUP took it on. Later on in the show, we'll obviously break it down, but just to have it straight, I think it's good that we had such an experience before the actual experience happening next year.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. My brother Thomas, your take on that?
Well, mine is a bit different. I was quite surprised.
Yes.
Not what you expect. On a certain bit, I was not surprised because I expected opposition, the strongest opposition, to win, because the rest were just participating. Then, on the bit of being surprised, I was surprised how the ruling party handled the Kawempe by-election that was just a few months to the general election. That was the biggest blunder they would ever do, and it's going to cost them in the coming election.
All right. In Kawempe or in the whole country?
In the whole country.
All right.
Oh, no.
Yes.
In but we shall dissect. But in these regions where, we keep up with everything that's happening.
All right. Thank you very much. I would like to come back to our commissioner. Picking from what he has said, that, he was surprised by the way the National Resistance Movement handled the election. Yesterday we had a debate between the two Secretary Generals. On the one hand, Todd Wong, and on the other hand, Rubongoya, on NBS, hosted by Kagwanjala. And, the exchanges were, it was like, I don't know if you've seen that meme of Spider-Man. It was like a mirror, And these ones are saying you cheated, the other part was saying you cheated. These guys were saying, you guys threw ballots, you stuffed ballots, You are violent, What do you make of that? Is it just a culture problem that all parties participated in, or there's something more, or one side is more guilty than the other?
Moderator, the people that were on that show, both Secretary Generals in their respective parties.
Yes.
And it's interesting. I haven't played on their part, but I've played on the part of the Electoral Commission. And the moment people declare their interest in taking part of leadership of an organization or a country, they definitely want to win. And you cannot just participate. The ones who participated are the ones that we really can't even talk about. These people wanted to win, and everyone will present their case. Everyone will want to be good. The only thing is that the results will show you who won. How they won, if it was just by a few votes, then they would, throw stones at each other. But there was a very big gap that even when you say you fought and I also fought, it does not make sense. Then what made you not fight enough to win? And what also, the person that, the dynamics around this election is that the one that appears weak is accused of all sorts of malpractice, but then they won, The one that appears strong is crying loudly, but then...
But if you follow the debate, the NRM are saying, well, it is okay if we lost, but we just want to make sure it was fair. So it's not only about winning, it's also about having a fair election, right?
No, I'm sure ELCOM has no problem with the questions around it. I'm very sure that the Electoral Commission is satisfied. They delivered what they did, and if there's any question, it is their right to go and petition.
And petition.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's just the individuals that were, interacting, that did not want to agree that, okay, since we all don't agree with what happened, let's go and allow the courts of law to help us. So they were just fighting. That was just childish fights on the debate. Otherwise,
Comrade Aruho, we saw NRM, of course, challenging the results. I don't know if it's the results or the fairness of the process, but indeed, as I stated to her, there is this kind of forth and back And what we're trying to withdraw is that, is there a cultural problem in our politics, or there's a party problem, like our colleague suggested? Because this goes on into the elections. You see FDC being accused where they're strong. Say, FDC is very good at rigging. And they say also NRM is very good. NUP is good at rigging. So do we have a culture problem, or we have a party problem?
Thank you. I think, first of all, we have I would call it a selfish problem. Why you feel this must be mine, and you don't even try to be considerate of who is going to come in or how it's going to affect you. I think it cuts across to every political party, be it NRM, because before NRM came into power, it was UPC.
Yes.
And where did the whole issue begin from? This guy is rigged. Said, let's go to the bush. When they went to the bush, their party, now NUP is saying, you guys rig. Yes. But even even in the party structures, the internal primaries, if we're all both NRM and person X wins, again you'll hear the same rumors going on, you are state. This one has support from SFC, this one has support from ISO.
Even when they're in opposition?
No. When they're in the ruling party especially. And if it's opposition, it even gets more interesting. This one, but
you've had those cases.
Yes, obviously. That's how I mean, when it comes to my brother's end, I'm saying, this guy usually goes to Guru. Or this guy meets a person X who I cannot mention on air. They say they meet him at night. So I think, as she said, no one wants to. He said some people participated. No one wants to participate. People want to conquer. And whatever means take them there. I think as Uganda is where we've faulted. We have highly exalted those that come out victorious at the end of the day, especially if they are from the ruling arm. If you're to see, if in the case that Nalukola was, Honorable Nalukola, sorry to say, if Honorable Nalukola was NRM, the discussion would be way beyond what we are discussing. But this vote was seen from word go. It's NRM, it's a loved party. But now the fact that he's NUP, you have all these things of there was vote rigging, we want to go to court. You see, be NRM or not, at the end of the day, I think we need to be mature and also know that this country will long stay after we've died. It was long there before we came. But at the end of the day, I think it's not, as you said, a party problem. I think it's a people problem. It's us, because even in our age bracket, if he wins guild at Kyambogo and he was opposition and I'm in NRM, I mean, I would.
There are petitions and
yes, I will have to petition him. Even if, but she said that the vote bracket was very big. So if NUP is saying this guy is voted, because the clips moved around of Kawere showing some things being thrown down by your people in electoral commission. I saw someone making a remark saying, was NRM rigging, allegedly rigging, because they wanted to lessen on the gap, or they were just rigging to,
for the sport,
just for the sake of saying, yes. But then on the other hand, also someone was saying, is it true NUP rigged? Did they want to widen the gap, or was it indeed because we saw Honorable Balambarugare coming out and saying, A, B, C, and D happened? But
just before I go to Comrade Thomas, what do you make of the NRM's next steps? Because they have instituted investigation. I think an investigation desk. I'm not certain whether they will proceed to court. But yeah, what do you make of that as a mechanism that the party has come out with?
I think personally, I think NRM should really put a touch to itself.
Or should it move forward? Like I think OO was suggesting.
They should not just move forward. They should reconcile. I think there is nothing.
Reconcile with who?
With the party, obviously, that they clashed with, that being NUP. Other people participated. Other guys escorted others in the race. You cannot reconcile with every kindergarten kid who comes to participate. You say some people got 22 votes.
Yes.
Those are immaterial to the discussion. What is material is being humble and you reconcile. Because you see, there is good that comes out of that. Because you will say, let's move on as the NRM party. But what about the families of people that were beaten? Honorable Nalukola himself was brought down a motorbike.
Mm.
We saw people from JAT, Canary Mugume,
Journalists.
survived being beaten. If you all saw the clip, it just took a second. He survived being beaten. So before you say let's move on as a party, we are going in for elections next year. It would just be in good faith that come out and accept, yes, we lost, and maybe we did not prepare. You can give any other explanation, but you don't just move on.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, as politics, as she's partly stated, is both participation and contestation. Those are two pillars. So contest cannot be withdrawn from the context. Both before and after the elections. I'd like to go to Comrade Thomas. Comrade, you started this debate by saying, that there were some issues NRM instituted in the way it acted. Could you please expound on that?
Yes. I would like to thank my colleague for bringing out those points. They're very crucial. Now, if you look at the dynamics and see what happened, how could NUP really cheat? Logically speaking, how could it? You saw all the images that were brought on social media that the army was literally around the ballot box, and the people that had access to those boxes were ministers themselves. You saw what the minister for Kampala, the metropolitan, what she did. You see what the minister Balam wrote after visiting a journalist. We all know that was clearly beaten by forces, and he alleged that it was NUP that beat up the journalist. That is crazy. We cannot, the problem is people think we are still in 1990 or 80, where information is...
But before we mix, we're going to have a round on issues of violence. On the question of vote rigging, as a moderator for the guests, because the guests are also confused, right? I mean, there's, on the one hand, people say NRM cheated. I think Balam say he intercepted. He intercepted or ambushed a particular delegation with a certain number of votes. And on the other hand, we see the leader of opposition, Joel Senyonyi, also storming a building, saying vote rigging is going on there. So is this just something that happens across board? Is it a cultural issue? Or is it, an NRM issue? Is there no other party that cheats?
I am going to be as blunt as possible,
Yes.
because if I don't be blunt, then I'm not doing justice to myself.
Yes,
what
please.
I believe in. You see, I tend to watch a lot of news, and I stumbled upon a show on NTV, Spotlight, I think Spot something, where they had hosted Honorable Mbide and Honorable Barnabas, and he openly said that NRM cheats on air. He actually did it, and he said, we do our things here and there, and he said it openly. Like he knew there would be no consequences of such a statement. That is dangerous. Then when you look at other things, I cannot trust a person that continuously goes and supports tweets that are crazy, and he will say things that are very alarming. And you cannot trust the information of a person that goes on. Canary was Canary, did Canary, when you see Canary, was he doing anything to annoy or provoke the policeman? No, the army person. The army person just got off a judge and then wanted to lash. Now imagine if Canary was hit. So they would say, oh no, Canary was hit because, Noob supporters beat him up. That is. But then now if someone makes such a statement, then they come and say that it's Noob that is cheating, how did they? The question is, how possible was it, given the deployment that was there? How possible and how feasible is... I am a scientist. You look at how feasible everything, how feasible would it be for Noob to cheat? When Joe entered that premise, I expected the people that were in the premise to allow Senyonyi to scout if nothing was happening, if nothing wrong was happening. Let him move around.
But they say he was trespassing.
Yeah, listen. Now, after him moving around and to his satisfaction, he finds nothing because... Please, I am coming to that. He moves around, he checks, and to his satisfaction, he sees that nothing's going because you're innocent, right? Then take him to court. Immediately after he has finished, he said, go open up a case, he was trespassing. Then there you have even evidence to say nothing was happening, this is a residential area. I mean, that is what I would do, unless if people do not have foresight. That is exactly what you do if you're innocent. If a person badges into your place, then they check around, and if you're sure that you're very innocent and you're doing nothing wrong, but they were plucking number plates off vehicles. And then you see a minister come on television and say it was Senyonyi's people that were plucking off number plates. Then how should we trust the state and its ministers for trying to mislead people? Then we also question the intelligence they have as a country.
All right, thank you very much. I want to switch topics. My only concern with the issues of vote rigging is that we end up in a gaslighting, we seem to always end up in a gaslighting contest. You know, this one did, this one did, this one, this, especially in hotly contested areas. And so for young people, you really wonder what light to follow in such an era of confusion. But I guess we'll get to that when we discuss how we can best participate in the upcoming elections. But I'd like to start with you again, Thomas, on the question of violence in the elections. We saw a bit of high-handedness, of course, on journalists, including Isano and others who were hospitalized. We saw a semblance of an apology from the CDF. We saw a statement from the president to the effect that, you know, they were responding to militarism that has been growing. We saw a semblance from Balam, a semblance of an apology as well. What do you make of the whole situation in the Kawempe North by-elections?
Bragging, they're just bragging. The apology is not sympathetic at all. I mean, now apologize after beating a person, then...
Sorry after danger.
No, but really, like, if the eye is damaged, how money can't repair that? Money can't repair that. You know, we Africans tend to forget that there is also emotional damage, and then there are things other than physical damage, and that is the African society. But these people are going to be traumatized. Who would want to go in 2026 and do journalism on elections again? Those are one of Isano is one. When you hear people talk about him, I did not know him, but when you hear people talk about him, he seems like one of those professional people in the job. He's committed, and now we have lost one. He's gone. And we will receive the same quality of work. Imagine if they had beaten up one of the best surgeons in the country, and then, you know, the after effect is now people are going to receive mediocre treatment because the best surgeon has been beaten, the hand can no longer operate properly. Or if he comes out and he survives, then he's not going to be the same person he was. That's basically the same thing. The state is looking, okay, they come to the floor of parliament and then they say, we shall go and check on these people and pay bills. Pay bills, then what? And then, as a CDF, you're forgetting also the tweets where he says he's going to raise pay for, you know, he's congratulating the people that beat up other people. Then who's accountable? How did these people get there? Because I saw people pushing away responsibility. We don't know these people. We don't know who deployed them. But who's in charge of the army? And who's above?
I don't think the CDF distanced himself.
No, I'm talking about these other people.
Yes, yes.
Because, you know, when we're looking for accountability, there's a trail. There's supposed to be a trail.
Yes, yes.
Then that means if the army was brought in, then that means police failed. So it requested
the army.
Exactly. But was even that process even there in the first place? You see, even in the human body, I happen to be a person that really likes looking at medicine and how things work. You see, when God was creating the body, he created what we call negative feedback and positive feedback. And once your glucose levels rise, there is immediately a response that brings it back to the norm. The same goes for the negative feedback. That's why you see, when there is no feedback, then you're diagnosed with a disease, and then you can die like instantly. So if there is no accountability of everything that is happening within the country, no one has taken account. No one has taken responsibility of what happened. No one has come out to say, I deployed these people. That is why I saw NRM MPs, Barnabas, on that particular show. I saw Honorable Sechikubo ask for it, particularly on the floor of Parliament, for people to come out and take accountability.
But are in the corrective, corrective statements from Balam, the CDF and the president a step in the right direction?
No. First, take accountability. Let us first know who deployed these people, so that we know who is going to be accounted, who is supposed to be blamed. And when we are arresting, when the state is arresting people, who should it go for? Because you can't tell me that all those those fancy cars, the guns, would come out without the president knowing, or the CDF. It's absurd.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that take. I would like to come to you, Mr. Aruho. Still the same on violence. There is a higi-haga that the violence was also both ways, just like the rigging. There are claims, especially from Balam and the rest. And then, of course, maybe you could rub off Balam's statement, but the president talked of increasing militarism in opposition, especially in the light of the parade we saw last month and some of these elements. And he verbatim said, you've been inviting, the kind of reaction that we saw, or the kind of high-handedness, and also diverting the military from its work in Congo and other strategic locations to come and handle issues. What do you make of that?
Thank you. I think it's more or less like saying, my job is A and I'm going to do D. When a civilian is a civilian, an army officer is an army officer. The two do not coordinate and do not meet in any angle. Army officers know what they're supposed to do, when civilians know what they're supposed to do. What was very simple from the beginning was EC coming out and saying A, B, C, and D is going to be worked this way. We come, we vote, we go home. So the violence that would have happened maybe would have been between NRM supporters and NUP supporters in case election goes either way, because should NRM have won, NUP supporters were very free to say, no, you guys rigged, then would have violence. Or even either way, had NUP won, NRM guys would say, you have rigged, would then have violence at that stage. But you see, we did not have violence at that stage. We had it prior. One, Honorable Nalokola is not going to serve for more than 2 years as MP. So it beats any person's ordinary thinking of why, at the very start of this whole competition, why you would have JAT coming in. Because JAT is Joint Anti-Terrorism. That is practically intelligence. Was there going to be a terrorist attack there, really? We have police. We have the FFU, that is the Field Force Unit. That is practically jumping every kind of protocol, just because someone at the end, as you said, has the pushing button. You see, you may support the government, but at a certain point, the questions you need to ask, don't we have enough trust in our police? You're beating up people I mean, that's why NUP would win, naturally. I don't know whatever NRM is saying. Why NUP would win even then is because if someone was going to support NRM and vote and they are beaten, out of anger, they will go and take a NUP. But had things moved on smoothly, yes, either way NUP was going to win, but the gap would have been lessened. But then when you, going to Honorable Balam's statement, it really pained me. That's the truth. Because journalists like Francis Isano, just like any other journalist, would like to do their work. They studied this course, they took their time, they paid their tuition, and they are professionals. A person like Francis Isano, who has been, who people were calling already a government journalist, him and Canary, Francis Isano was beaten. That is irrespective of him being government or not. Isn't he on bed? He is. And then you have a minister, honestly, really, a minister coming out and making such a statement and saying it was NUP that beat him. We are in a media, we are in a technology-based environment now. It's a global village. Those statements can come back to bite you. Yes? You then saw the clip of Canary, by the blink of an eye, surviving a beating. The question was going to be, even with that evidence, were they going to say those were NUP guys? No. Then you have you have the president. I really respect the president, but you have the president coming out and calling militarism just because these guys went and paraded. Yes, I also wouldn't have supported that. But then, before we play that blame game, we should do away with the aspect of double standards. When the people under MK Army came out and did their parade, nothing was done. We kept quiet. We're like, it's no more, it's MK Army. So when NUP is doing their thing, why don't you leave them? Because you've already accepted these guys to do it. When NRM, if you're to recall, not this previous elections, the ones before, you had the NRM, they called themselves the NRM Yellow Brigade. They had military, civilian, their own decorated things. But where was that? Guys kept quiet. They had so-called commanders and everything.
But if you followed unfortunately, because you're all on one side, I'm forced to play devil's advocate. But if you look at the statement that General David Muhoozi made on the floor of Parliament, he said the parade was not an isolated incident, and truly it's not. This one I can personally attest that indeed, in terms of the operations, especially when the principal is moving somewhere, blocking traffic and acts of assault here and there, and blocking traffic, and all these things that go on. So they were taking the parade in the light of all that is happening, that these guys are forming some sort of formations that may terrorize people in the urban setting of Kampala.
Okay, let's take it from that angle.
Yeah.
If it were true, that is something to say we are sorry about. But let's not center it on NUP. During when General Muhoozi Kainerugaba came up with the first national birthday celebrations, we had the MK Army coming out strongly. They had formations. When you talk about blocking the city, I don't think that there was a much more severe blocking of the city when MK was going to celebrate his birthday.
By the military or by the MK Army?
By the MK Army, because here you're also talking about the NUP Army.
No, because there's just for the viewers' sake, there's the military blocking for an event. That is supposed to be, of course, it's not perfect, but it's supposed to be for any party. But then there's the MK Army coming out to block.
Actually, we had team chairman, you had team MK, you had MK Army, you had General Museveni, now General MK Next Army. So this guy it's one solid. It's not. I am NRM, but there are things you sit down and you look at, and that's why I said at the beginning, you have to, that before I go playing blame game, have I done good? Why you would say these guys did the parade? On the other hand, I would think why they also came out and said, let's do our thing, and our principal comes and inspects our brigade. It's because you guys did the same prior.
But can I interject?
Sure.
What if what if the parade was to sensitize these people on how to avoid hitting civilians?
Which people?
Like, you know how I have seen him. Many people say that the principal of Noob is a very calm person, and they say that he sensitizes people not to react a lot. Maybe he was organizing them on how to move properly and not avoid blocking traffic, hitting people. It's also a possibility. You don't have to drive it.
But you see, I understand, and I'll come to Diana. Of course, the state, again, just to play devil's advocate, if you look at the 2021 elections, if you look at the 2008 elections in Kenya, there were formations like this. And that is exactly what Ruto was being litigated about in ICC. Malema Virizi also warned, actually, Bobi Wine, a few months before the parade went viral, that he should disband the foot soldiers because they will land him in ICC, relating it to Ruto scenario. He said they will pick someone from government, like MK, and they will pick, in case something happens in 2026, they'll pick MK and they will pick Bobi Wine and take them to. So he was warning against that. But generally, the state, for very clear reasons, the urban poor live in Kampala. These are very desperate, and also it's the center of power. It's very insecure about Kampala. So you'd think, you know, a parade would really, as it did, awaken their ears. And this is a government that believes in a strong state. Monopolizing violence, but I would like to hear from Comrade Diana, your take on the violence. Of course, there was accusations on both sides. Balam saying the NUP supporters beat up the journalists and others. NUP supporters and saying, you know, NRM or the military. Sometimes those two are mixed, beat up. You know, opposition, then of course the accusations on the army. What do you make of the violence?
Thank you, moderator. Generally, a by-election is notorious. You will expect violence. I do not know why, but everywhere there's been a by-election, it always raises some levels of heat. So violence is expected, and that is why we have security. So he said nobody has come out to say we called the security or the security was here because of our request. But I would like to assume that the Electoral Commission, in performing their functions as provided for by the Constitution, they have to ensure you have a free and fair election. And they expect, these are human beings, everybody wants to win. If it was up to them, they would beat each other to death so they can win. So you always have to provide security. What I do not know is why it was not police and the army, yeah? And then also what my understanding is that the people caught on camera beating the others were masked up. Because if you're providing security, for me, come in your uniform. But let me, you know.
General MK said it's a standard operating procedure.
I think that sparked a debate because the former CDF said it wasn't.
Yes.
It is not right.
I really do not think you can protect me when you're hiding your face from me.
But the claim is that, you know, and on social media you've seen people saying, let's send him what? You know, they post a soldier and say, let's, I don't know, post this until something. So threats to, and then to their children and all these things.
Yeah.
So don't you think that is a viable reason?
No. If we are at war, and you expect me to to fight back, then you can mask up.
Yes.
But you are protecting me. I'm sure you have come.
Maybe he's
polling
protecting.
station.
He's protecting his child. You know, his 2-3-year-old child.
Then we have a big problem.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you see, you can still protect your child without.
beating is not a son or a father of someone else.
And then what we forget
No,
what we forget actually.
I'm a moderator, please. I'm just asking questions.
And what we forget here
Yes.
is that much as it can be Honorable Nell Kola versus Farida, Noop, NRM, we have families. Yeah, you could be there when your child is Noop, you are NRM, you know, and when yes, you are there, you're NRM, your child is here in Noop and whatever, and then they will beat your child, which will also reduce the votes that NRM had, because you cannot come back home and say, let them beat you, why were you supporting Noop? No, what comes first is family. So I think as a country, we need to sit down and first understand that this is a country for Ugandans. Before any other thing, we are Ugandans, and let's again focus on what is best for us to move forward.
All right. Thank you very much. Before we go into the break, just one last question on the violence. Yesterday, during the morning debate between the Secretary Generals, Honorable Todwong, Right Honorable, stated that people tend to mix NRM and the army, and that the army has its own chain of command, independent of his. His job is purely to mobilize and win the election. Don't you think it's unfair when people blame the NRM party for acts of the military or mistakes, intentions of the military?
But who's the chairman of NRM? It is the president. You know, it is that is particularly very difficult. You see, when we were elected into power, the first thing I did was, when I became a finance minister, the first thing I did was resign as chairperson UID immediately. I think if you want to send the message, then that is one of the things that I think for a better system that should be done. It is very hard to differentiate because of the trend, what they've been doing. It is very hard for you now to come out, since you're defending yourself and you want to win just a by-election, then you start saying that this and this and this. It doesn't make sense. They've been mixing up the roles every time. And it is quite hard for us to believe that now, you know, when things seem to be as if... Now you see what I told you, they're trying to show people that NRM is innocent so that they secure probably the 2026. But the harm is already done. It is not meant to change. Then I would also like to clarify, I'm not a new cadre. I am a cadre of the Democratic Party.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I saw your president saying you guys won because you had the silent, the undecided vote. But anyway, speaking to your original point, I think that's a matter of something we'll have to discuss. You know, the Constitution was released in 1995 when we were under the movement system. And to change some of the things you're saying, to evolve constitutional change, I think Comrade Aruho is familiar with the protocol. And in protocol, you know that, for example, the NRM vice chair is higher than the prime minister and other. So there's a confluence of two systems, multi-party and movement systems, which our constitution is still of the movement system. So there are some items that can only be rectified by another constitutional review.
But if they had foresight, these, you know, good leaders are supposed to have foresight. But if I do read a lot of philosophy, and one of the books, I believe now our president and the regime is moving on the book, because what they're doing seems like they're getting all their notes from the book of The Prince by Machiavelli. You know, they are substituting reasoning and foresight with military power. You know, and that doesn't end well. You see, even in his book, he states that all armed prophets win and all unarmed prophets are not successful. But for me, I challenged it in my head and I said, when you read those books, the two armed prophets that are unarmed prophets that are famous is Jesus and Socrates. Jesus won death, and then Socrates, obviously, even in his death, he defended, and he chose not to defend himself for sympathy, but to conquer death, which he did. And then all armed prophets, that is Alexander the Great,
Napoleon.
It is a dangerous end. They die miserably. So I think that is a wrong script, and they should really change.
All right, thank you very much. We'll go into a brief break, and when we come back, we shall discuss different issues regarding the same topic, namely journalism, and also how the youth can best participate in the upcoming 2026 elections. Stick with us for the second segment.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create, and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices, and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back to the inter-university debates today, where we are discussing the Kawempe North elections. And the question is this by-election a precursor to what we shall see in the 2026 elections? In the first segment, we discussed matters in the election, including issues of violence, rigging, militarism, and other pertinent issues, and of course, the exchanges from both sides of the battle that we saw in Kawempe. The much bigger war, of course, is the 2026 elections, and in the second segment, we want to focus on that in the light of the previous elections and the fears that many Ugandans share about what could happen in the upcoming elections. I would like to get back to my distinguished panelists, starting with my colleague. I'd like to widen the discussion a bit. We see there was a statement in the earlier segment that, and I think by many people, that NRM perhaps knew that they would not win Kawempe anyway, or should have known that they would not win Kawempe. Well, the SG was saying, well, we expect to win and we continue to fight. We see a dynamic of NRM struggling, at least in the last elections, in the central and particularly in urban areas. What do you think is the cause of that dynamic, compared, of course, to thriving they do in rural areas?
Because you see, here we are. It is a gift that we have. Almost all our stations are here, and we receive timely information about everything, and we clearly see what goes on. The government has disappointed very many people, from what I hear, and from what I believe. And if you look at specifically what has been happening, and even he said it in his address. Look at the Baganda. He talked about the Baganda of 2009, and he said he also talked about like the different problems he has had with this particular region. But I believe because you see this region is organized and it has developed. It's developed because when you look at the history, it all begins with here the coming of the missionaries, what it all begins here, and this place developed, and it had a system where the system is efficient. But if we recognize incompetence, we are going to speak on it. From time to we cannot keep quiet. I believe it goes back. The cause is incompetence of the NRM government, and that you cannot tell me you expect to win in a constituency that has been dominated from time to time by opposition, then FDC, DP, then now NUP. And I mean the former representative to that area was a NUP cadre. And now what makes you think that, and people say he worked. So what makes you think that people would switch to NRM immediately? I think that is the people that are giving him information, or the people that are feeding information to the NRM Secretariat, are giving them false information. We shouldn't rule that out. Because one, the registrar says 200,000 voters for NRM in that constituency, but the voters alone are 199 something. They're not even close to that number. So who's misleading who? And then, I mean, I think NRM as itself should torch and then see where they went wrong.
But why is it that NRM does well in rural parts of the country?
It's because those people don't need much. You see, the best way to rule people for a very long time is to keep them ignorant. And they have succeeded at that in the rural areas. And trust me, if such an establishment was that side, or if those people got the experience we have had of this particular government here, trust me, they would. And then, I mean, we cannot rule out the fact that there were allegations of NRM always rigging that side. Maybe even those people are tired, and we don't know. And we know, because I'm not a nationalist. I don't move around a lot. But maybe even those people that side are tired.
Yeah. Comrade Aruho, in the last elections, by-elections are indicators of what could come. In the last elections, we had several altercations here in Kampala. There were also issues of tribal undertones. I know many of my friends from the West who left Kampala. At that time, I was still at university. And so many of these dynamics. Again, it goes back to, and of course the narrative was framed that, NUP was a Buganda party and all these things. How far do you think we have come from that? Are we set for a repeat?
Thank you. I think we are set for a repeat. We should just expect more from what happened in the previous general elections, because the by-election in Kawempe gives you an insight into what may happen, though it is sad, but I do believe it's what we might have happen again. Because if you look at our political play game in Uganda, it is that currently NRM is for Bahima, Banyarwanda, Banyankole, Western Uganda. DP being for the gentlemen that take the eastern direction, mainly. And then with the political senior management, as you said, being from, now when you decide to shift to West Nile. I mean, that's largely the talk then. NUP talk being that it is a Baganda-based party. And then FDC being a TESO-related political party. But then I think all those discussions have loopholes. Because if what say NUP is a Baganda-based party, it would just make meaning to me that people like Ruongoya, people like Babi shouldn't be part of it. If NRM, on the other hand, is a Hima, Tusi, Ankole party, we shouldn't have people like Okot Ola in it. If you're to say DP is, we shouldn't have people like Sayuni Helen in it. I think we still play this thing of blindness and so-called political maturity, especially among the elite. You guys are the guys who understand how these things ought to run. And again, you're the same people that play the same card. Just because you're going to secure a vote, you play the same card so that those that you are saying are underprivileged to getting this information move on by what you say. Because if someone comes from Kampala, I can tell you, when you come from Kampala and you're in the village and you've studied, or people just get to know you at university, there is much respect there for you. A lot of respect. You go there and speak English. Like, wow.
But comrade, there are also, because I've had this debate somewhere. The people it could also be that they have different issues. The rural populace may be comfortable, as he said, as suggested, and we might have just an urban problem with there are also a lot of uneducated people. In fact, most of them. And if you notice the ghetto movement, these are probably the poorest people. If you remember in COVID, they were the first to be handled because they have no cushion, they have no village, nothing.
Fall back.
Could it be, something like we are missing other than tribe that brings people together?
Yeah, I think other than tribe, I mean, because obviously tribe becomes a drop in the ocean. But I think other than tribe, people are looking at the other things that do not meet the eye. For example, during the break, he said there was a person X who bragged about being in power for 24 years and his constituency, people are lacking water. It beats any person's ordinary thinking that NRM has been in power for this couple of years. There is a standard that ought to be set. I don't like making references, but you see President Paul Kagame has been in office for around 25 years. 30.
Anyway, 25 for presidency.
For presidency.
Yes.
I don't want to be quoted badly, but if you go there, from where they were after the incident, the unfortunate incident, to where Rwanda is now, are totally different spheres of debate. But when you go to Uganda, when you come here in Uganda where we are, and you own a car and you stay around Najera, Chitukutwe, that area, or you decide to use Chira.
To be fair, that road is under repair.
Let me give you a better example.
I'm coming.
Let me give you a better example. Let's look at where they fought from. Luweero. There are still bombs somewhere, some places.
Maybe for
And I've seen people, MPs, questioning the internal affairs ministers to take a look at it, but nothing has been done. Please.
No, I think it's a fair one. I do believe that then the discomfort that people feel, especially in Central Region, is because this is the business hub, this is the political hotbed, this is at least something that should be sort of a benchmark area, saying that if NRM has performed, there is better healthcare, there is better infrastructure, there are better education services, we have, what would I call them, emergency response units. If it was functioning well, as it should be, then wouldn't even have the saga in the Kawempe by-election. People would come out and vote for NRM saying, we've tested NUP leadership, whereas he worked, but I think if we voted for NRM, they would do better. But you see, the gentleman came in the few months before he went into this whole saga, as they say he went into. People say that he was worked. Why? The guy was just there for them, really. But I do believe that the NRM party at a certain point X should do, not mobilization, should do a reconciliation to come back to the people and get, because we are past the stage of saying we want to know what you guys want. No. We know what people want. I think we just need to sit down with these people, especially the youth. And the problem with the NRM party is that you wait for that crucial moment, then you say youth empowerment, then youth structure, then it looks like you support the youth. Then after you've sworn in, these kids are nowhere. I really call upon the NRM government want to respect the multi-party system that they say they brought about. Secondly, to respect the aspect of democracy. If I choose to support NUP, it's not that because I hate you. Either personally I just want to see change, or secondly, there is something that he speaks to or be it DP that I reason with. If I also say, I also call upon my brothers and sisters in opposition that if I say I support NRM, before you start saying, hey, Abanyankole, first ask me why. I could support it maybe just because you have had talks of people saying, for us we support NRM, why we continue supporting NRM is because they brought peace. We are different people, as you said and you say. Some people just want peace. Because, I mean, if you talk to our elders, they'll be like, guys, for us, why we vote for NRM is because we just don't want to go back that line. And another person saying, I'm going to vote for NRM because, I mean, my family is, as he said, he has a very strong attachment to DP because he's from a family, a background that the Mugwanya family that has been very crucial. So when he sees people playing in it, he just doesn't understand what these people are doing. Yes, but I think at the end of the day, just like how I can sit with him, we sit with you, and we have this debate, we are not fighting with each other. He's from DP, I'm NRM, you're NRM, this one is NRM stroke PLU. But we are, okay. But we are having this, we are not fighting. I think at the other end, I would really call upon His Excellency Robert Senta Muchagolanyi to sit down with these people, and they have a resensitization program. As Ugandans, really, honestly, we don't want this whole thing of fear because of politics. Because if you're to recall, during the last election, there was the whole thing of what have already taking
umbrella.
We don't want, just whereas we want change, but we want it to be with sense. We want guys, you see when you listen to, I support NRM, but when you listen to people like the Honorable Mathias Mpunga speak, when you listen to Right Honorable Joel Senyonyi speak, those gentlemen have oratory skills. Those gentlemen are speaking from the heart. You get, they're not just making up illusions. Just here and there, you have to add in a little salt to spice up the game. But they are guys you would call out and say, these guys are mind. I mean, Honorable Mukasambide is in DP, but when you listen to him speak, one, you can easily tell, yes, whereas he's in opposition, this is an educated fellow. You have listened to Dr. Briette Sarah speak, that even if they're in opposition, man, there is, and then you come to people who, anyway, subject for another day.
Thank you very much.
That is it, really.
Yeah, again, it goes back to the question of the constitution, because, you know, effectively Uganda runs a dual system, both the multi-party and the movement
as part of paperwork.
And you know, colleagues like her, the NRM constitution actually says for any Ugandan without a political party, they belong to NRM.
No, this one really.
They belong to the movement, and those are things that are in the law.
But
and
you see
so
the funny thing with them, when they win the ticket after.
But why would you decide for someone?
Well, because the country was also, you know, at the time, movement system, to be fair, was quite popular. If you listen to Matembe and the rest.
Yes.
The thing is, the government, the regime, the movement system, the NRM was not willing to cede it fully, and so it had to run a referendum, but maintain its inertia, and so that is the multi-personality disorder we have regarding parties and the movement system. So if you look at the president's mindset, it's actually the movement system. For him, that's how he sees. And if you notice in the statement, he said you've been inviting NRM to come.
But then come in a peaceful way.
You've been inviting, meaning the military, but
you see, we need to differentiate.
Purely.
Yeah, but we need to.
So those
there's
are
a difference
between
the NRM and the military.
So he's just truthful as he is.
Yes, but no.
For him, that is his truth.
No, but then let us look at this. You saved us. I will never. If I was ever brought on a show where we talk about what he did for us and what he achieved, I will applaud him. You know, I was.
So you're a fan of the movement system?
No. For what they did in '86, yes, perfectly okay. I am like one of those people. You see, let's talk about Honorable Sechkubo.
Mm.
Pure NRM. They have tested him many times from the party, but he stayed. His submissions are always objective. What is wrong, regardless if it's coming for NRM.
True.
Mm.
And those are the people we need. Those are the exact people we want.
So you're calling some of them chasers of the bag?
Yes.
But that's obvious. let's hear from let's hear from her as well. There is this question of, you know, the role of young people. But before we go to young people, because for young people, I want you to advise them as leaders. The role of elites, you know, elites are very good at fence sitting, keyboard, you know, fighting, and so many other subtle ways they participate, especially lawyers. Lawyers can complain, but when you say, okay, let's do this, and they say, no, that is, you know, what do you make of that class? You know, because they are increasingly also going to come and, you know, we are increasingly entering polarized politics. This side is extending far to the right. This side is extending far to the left. Not ideological, I just mean distance.
Yeah.
And so those in the middle come under question. But isn't it their right, you know? What do you make of that question of the elite, or the, as in law we call them the bystanders? Isn't
Maybe have me this time around. But if you went to school...
Oh, you're one of them.
No, I am
Seems
not.
it hit
I am not.
It's personal.
I am not. But if you, for example, went to school in our generation, and you were able to wake up in the morning, reach school, and come back home in a peaceful environment, yeah? Not to say that our age mates somewhere like Guru have not seen war, but at least largely for whoever is here, at least you have been here.
I grew up in the war.
Okay.
Yes.
My
But it's okay.
apologies. Yeah, but okay, to a bigger extent, and a bigger number of the youths
Yeah, I've not seen conflict.
have not seen conflict at all. So we hear it and read about it, and we do not want to be part of it. Yeah, so, and we've gone to school, and I would like to think we know better than our elders. They only knew one way. If we do not win this one, we are fighting, and that's why they went to the bush. As we think we can reason this thing, we can reconcile. There's so many other ways, of reaching an agreement as to where we want our country to go.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what I want all of us to believe is that Uganda is for Ugandans, and we are either spoiling it for ourselves or nobody else, you know. So the elites, as you call them, are going to write. They have gone to school. They have read. They have understood, and they will communicate.
And they
we
don't want to be beaten.
want to raise awareness as much as possible, and maybe that is why, as he said, there's a problem between the urban and the rural, because the people in the urban areas, you know, have access to information. They have access. They also know their rights. You know, I don't know if I remember there's a conference we attended where someone was saying the constitution should be replicated in all languages in Uganda, so that everyone gets to know what it is. Yeah, and I think it's happening. But Ugandans, if you want to hide anything from Ugandans, just put it in a book. You know, nobody, even our Bibles, we do not read much as it's a country about God and everything. So I think the elites are doing their role to try and maintain the peace that we really thank the NRM for, and also raise awareness as much as they can. If I was one of them, I think I would do the same. We can only do so much in our power. Yeah,
thank you. The reason I'm asking, and I'll go to you, Comrade Thomas, is because increasingly on the shows and, you know, in discourse among our age mates and colleagues, I find that many seem not to have a political home that they sink in with fully, ideologically, physically, you know, in every way possible. You know how people were in sync with NRM or UPC youth or ANC youth, EFF. And if you've been to Tanzania, you know how much CCM youth are in sync. There seem to be, even in across board, in opposition and in the ruling party, a bigger group of youth without a political home. What do you think, at least ideologically, as a generation, I see that as a glaring problem.
I think the
do you agree?
Yeah, I think the problem comes from our elders. As you said, we are extremely more brilliant than our elders. That is the sad truth. One time I was talking to my mom and she was telling me, she had me use a word. I said mafia, and then she told me never use that word when you're with me, because you've seen a lot of things and now it is transcending down, trickling effect. Youth, you know, there's that saying that that doctors always use. I don't know if they use it, but I've seen it somewhere. That it is easy to diagnose a disease. Sorry, it is easy to treat a disease at the early stages, but it's difficult to diagnose. But when you leave it untreated, when it reaches the later stages, it's easy to diagnose, but difficult to treat. They refused to accept the problem. And these things of saying, Baganda have formed the no political party, that is all propaganda. Baganda supported Besigye and were willing to die for him.
And NRM.
Yes, and Museveni, when President Museveni went to a massacre, after, he was welcomed with open arms, loved, because he was a hero. When you live in power for a very long time, like I said earlier, you start living in an imaginary world, and no one is supposed to, you know, when you're a dancer and then you stay on the stage for a very long time, you even ruin some of the things that you did right.
Yeah.
And now this thing has come in. That's why now youth, you see, I think it is because they have that, there's something inside them telling them it's not okay, the ethic bit of it, and then but they need to chase the bag. So they want really to go to this side, but they fear if in case I'm beaten up, if in case I am seen putting on red and then I am beaten, or if whatever is happening, I want to go and secure the bag.
But there are also genuine complaints about. I remember asking myself, what is the ideology of NUP or DP or FDC? And of course, it goes back to the ruling party as well. But I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't, you don't see much ideological activity going on except politicking and politics of personality.
Do you believe that there are educated illiterates?
Yes, I believe they're educated illiterates.
Exactly. Now there is that class that is somewhere that is trying. You know, there are those ones that they're still behind. They knew what was right back then. They have held on to power a lot. Then there's that class that they have managed to conquer and control, that is in between them and us. And I believe that is the problem. That is the biggest problem. Give people information. Let people, sensitize. Allow NUP to do its. It had opened up the school. Let them do their things. Do not interrupt.
All right. Thank you. Aruho, what do you make of this bystander phenomenon as we go into the 2026 elections?
I think it's more or less like saying my parents pay school fees, but I don't want to study. I don't really subscribe to the school of thought of I do not support the political party, especially if you're an African. In my view, I see you either as a spy or...
I feel attacked.
Especially those that say, me, I don't do politics, but everything runs on politics.
The people really, there are submissions you listen to, and
That's you.
I think this person, where did they grow up from? Not like my neighbor continuously says, I don't belong to a political party, and You see, one, and in good faith, we are Africans. We have to accept that. Our our governments have been run along. You need, in life, as hard as it is, you're supposed to make a stand. When you make a stand, you make your choices, then you can know how to move.
But what if none of the choices are?
We have, in Uganda, we have the NRM party. We have the NUP party. We have the DP party. We have UPC. We have PPP. We have others that are emerging. We have pressure groups, PLU. Is there a party left? We have
Can we
PPP. I
understand?
named first way. We have pressure groups, PLU inclusive. Now, of all those, you've said I am independent. The problem I have, yes, it is fine to be independent. The problem I have with, especially people from my area who say they are independent, after winning the by-election or whatever, even if it's general, they run to NRM. I do not like political prostitution.
You see, you can't be there and just speculate. You need to have.
Which political party do you belong
I do not belong to any because I'm a policymaker. I am not going to.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
Yes.
No. By the way, there's nothing that stops anybody in this country from.
No, it's there,
Personal
but you see,
decision.
No, you can be you can be
impartial.
biased
Yeah, I'm
but
very
impartial.
You should have. You know.
For example,
that.
I
You
can
have tested that.
successfully moderate the show.
Yeah.
You'll notice a few biases, but I will have successfully been impartial.
No, but think of it in a critical situation.
You think the
But
one
also
where
by law,
someone's
she's a member of NRM.
you see,
by,
you see the things I'm doing. So
because she's undecided, so she falls in the movement. Since the multi-party system has failed her, she
No.
falls back on the movement system.
she is decided. It's just that when she looks at all these other parties, every party that you have mentioned, I do not agree with most of the things. So I want to sit at the other side of the table that says, you know what, for our country, let's do A, B, C, D. You know, not as NRM, let's go and fight here, let's put here, or as NUP, no, I do not want to be on that side of the table. I am the side of the table that will formulate policies, and I am doing it in my
but
capacity.
you see, for good governance to happen, for good running to happen, you need that.
Need what?
Need what? Exactly. The
In
And have
confusion,
political belonging.
Yes, in the African setting.
the
I think-
confusion.
You first wait, you're calling it confusion because you're an elite. Me, I don't want us to have. We've had people
Where
say
do I ask for protection on this show?
Devil's advocate.
devil's advocate, the moderator.
You're protected.
You see, someone, I don't, maybe you guys will correct me. I remember someone saying, I think it's a Ugandan or Professor Lumumba, I don't really recall, or it was Dr. Sarasa. I had someone saying, I'm among the people who usually speak, that if you can get a cat and put it on presidency of the USA, and USA will continue running because
The institutions.
where she says she falls.
Thank you.
But then here, even if I do support the NRM party, I beg to you.
You have
Thank
now
you, thank
given
you.
me
Let's
I have this burning.
let's move forward.
Let's move forward.
Our time is close to spent. I wanted us to highlight some of the roles of the youth before we close. I'll start with you, Diana. How do you think the youth out there should best participate in the elections 2026?
Thank you, moderator. You've done us so well. First of all, what we are doing here, thanks to Civic TV,
Civic Engage, yes.
is such a platform that helps us exercise our right to that's what Article 38 of the Constitution, civic rights and activities. So by us peaceful activities, actually, it is very specific to peaceful. So by us coming here and voicing out our thoughts, we are already doing something in elections, because here we're discussing the cons and pros of what transpired and what we do not want to see maybe. And we're already doing well. I think to be more specific, we need not to be intimidated at all. First of all, we have a right to vote, we have a right to participate, and then we have a right to opine. So if my opinion is this, I should really, really feel comfortable in my skin because my constitution provides for it, for me to say what I feel. I have that freedom, I'm protected. And so let's not get intimidated. Let's look at our leaders and let's applaud them for everything they have done for us. But also, it is very good that we can sit and say, here, you did well. But I think, given the times that we're in, we can change A, B, C, D. For example, I'll just allow me to say something that we are doing. When I looked at the Kawempe elections, it is so sad that it is just one constituency that is making the whole country, spin, and it cannot, to even think that because I watched debates where Honorable Mbide said whatever happened in Kawempe is exactly that is going to happen in 2026. And for me, I feel that is just speculation and legally unsound for you to think that something in one particular constituency can set trends for a national election. No, I do not agree. I do not agree. I just feel it was a very good platform for one, ELCOM to see where it went wrong, to do better, to tighten. I've served on the first ELCOM that delivered a peaceful, fair, and free election.
And he is handed over power.
Handed over power peacefully without, yes. He knows how impartial the youths are currently, And the reason we choose to go that direction is because of what we have seen before. We for example, on my commission, we agreed no matter how much you love the candidates, we are not voting. So it will start with us. If we are not voting, then we cannot have funny systems around. So I think this that transpired gives the Electoral Commission, especially that the head is a justice, I think he needs to sit back with his commission and set pace for next year. We do not want to see a small thing shed blood. Then what will a general election, look like? So I think it was just good that he can tighten loose ends, and also the party that feels aggrieved really need now just, instead of going to court and whatever, this is the time for them to sit down and say, where did we go wrong? Let's re-strategize and maybe make sure we win this place better. Where did we go wrong? And also the party that won is not big on ELCOM. You get to know that if a small university can have people treat an election as anything to die for, then what of a whole constituency? So definitely they're pointing fingers, but there is no smoke without fire. They both played a part, and all we want is to maintain the peace that we have grown up into. So the youths have, it's our mandate to not allow anybody to be hurt next to you. Do not go hurting anybody just because of an election. At the end of the day, it will end. We are voting an MP who is not a contractor to come and build the road. He will just go and make noise about it. That's his role. He's not going to build it physically. So let's not hurt each other. We're hurting our families. Families are breaking up. Friendships, contacts for tomorrow are breaking up just because I was on the show and so was, in a different party. So I think the youth need to stay unified for one particular cause that we are in this country, to grow it and be better and feel proud as Ugandans.
All right.
Two, let's be innovative. For me, with my fellow youths, we have an innovation organization. We call it Innovation Consortium. When we watched how the elections, happened, the systems, the votes, the returning officers reading this, the others they say this is the proof, that is not, the truth, So we crafted some things that we'll probably present to the relevant authorities on how to track and at least be ahead of the game. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Of course, Honorable calling out for individual action and mission regarding the election to take responsibility, because again, it's no matter what happens, elections always goes down to individuals. So thank you very much for that, Comrade Thomas. As we part, your advice to the young people in the light of the 2026 elections. Please don't advertise DP.
No, I wasn't. I am very happy to be here.
Yes.
And add on something to the viewers, to those that are watching, and so that they know that there are people that really care. And for those that are not interested in politics, for us who are interested, we'll make sure that you have a better Uganda tomorrow. And for those that feel that they want to participate in politics and they don't have parties as youth, I don't think that any party in Uganda really, apart from where I have been in the Uganda Young Democrats, obviously, but I don't see any other party that really empowers the youth. I see.
Man, we disclaimed adverts.
No. No, I'm not. What I'm saying is that youth
No,
need.
I'm joking, please.
Youth need, because if really there was an empowerment, people would not be ruling for 25 years, 20 years, 15 years. I mean, there's what they call, even though you people always look at the body, you know, we as humans use our body every day. So we waste, with time we waste, not like waste it in a bad way, but it continuously deteriorates. Even the mind deteriorates. I mean, 24 years and there is no change somewhere where you're representing. Then step down, let a young person, vibrant. We are 70% youth. Let us take that. NRM should, now I'm giving advice to NRM, it should empower the youth. Put these elders aside, let this take on. We are bright, we have ideas, we have minds, we are vibrant, we are ready to serve.
Thank you.
That would be very beautiful. And then, yeah, for those, as youth, we should, I think even we should just form a pressure group and just go and contest for these places and take part. Don't fear, go take part in those elections and come out. Yes, and I think we shall have a better tomorrow.
Right.
Why wait for tomorrow when we have now? Now is what matters. We're not sure of tomorrow.
Right.
You
Thank
see
you very-
how God forbid, I get a problem and die along the way, then my mind is wasted. But if I could act now, and I'm glad I'm doing it now, then that means I would have, if I am going to succumb to anything there, I would die happy because I've contributed something important.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Thomas, for also being part of us today, and I hope to see you many more times. Yes, as we conclude.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Firstly, I want to deeply thank CCG and Civic Space TV. I think you guys have done really a very good job. You've been consistent with airing out the shows. You've been very consistent with also your standard of quality.
Yeah.
I must really applaud you, not only you, but the entire team, the people behind the cameras, the moderators, you, Onen, and the team really, and the senior top management. If you get time, please send our kind regards.
Sure.
To my fellow youth, my things are very simple. We need to understand that Uganda was there way before we were born. It's there when we are alive, and it will long be there after we are dead.
Yeah.
So whether you subscribe to NRM, whether you subscribe to UPC, whether you subscribe to JEMA, whether you subscribe to ANT, NUP, PPP, whatever political party you do subscribe to in Uganda, and pressure group, we need to tolerate one another, we need to respect one another's opinions, and we need to know that above all, we need to fall within the slogan of the country, for God and my country. So let's not do things out of political hate. Let's read widely. And those that want to contest, my fellow comrades in my age bracket, please know what you're contesting for first. Don't just wake up one day and say I want to contest for MP because of maybe A, B, C, and D. I think sit down and read what the roles of an MP are, understand them, and then contest. And I would widely advise my friends, especially those that have studied, those that have gone to campus, whether you've contested at campus or not, and you belong to any political party, if it's running its youth league elections, please contest in these things. Contest for chairperson, finance, secretary. In one way or another, you're going to shape not only your reasoning capacity, but the leader you want to become today, tomorrow. And I'm again very thankful. I don't know how you organized this panel today, but I'm very thankful that I'm sitting next to the person that made me hand over power. We need to know that these positions are not permanent.
Yeah.
When you reach time X, please accept, hand over peacefully. I am very peaceful because I did what I did, she did what she did, I handed over. But in a nutshell, for God and my country, and thanks to CCG.
All right. Thank you very much, colleagues. I always say this is the only show that is constitutionally protected among all the shows because as students, you're protected under academic freedom. I think in Article 29.
So you're doing research.
So whatever you've said is just
research
academic, is
of
research.
academic.
And any intelligence officials or anybody malicious should face the Constitution before they touch you. So
You're worried me
in
more
that
than-
light, I should also enroll soon.
The fact that you're adding that.
Thank you so
In
much.
that light, I should soon enroll to Cavendish. But thank you very much, colleagues. And to our dear viewers, seek first the political kingdom and all the rest will fall in line. Those were the famous words of Kwame Nkrumah. And I think we need to focus very much our attention on the upcoming elections in your small capacity. Be able to participate, follow, because one mistake in the political arena and you cannot go to school, you cannot go to the market, you cannot do anything. So I think we all have a collective duty to build this country together. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you share widely with your friends and also watch over and over. Make sure you internalize and spread the good news. As my colleague said, for God and my country. Thank you.